Bill Gates has already said that we'll probably have a pandemic every 10 years. So to be a resilient city, you need to have a dashboard. And in the dashboard, it needs to, first of all, be connected to lots of different data points that can be analyzed to predict where the pandemic may pop up next. I think that data and artificial intelligence are revolutionizing every single industry. Lekin this is something that we hear all the time. Har magazine cover pe, har TV show pe, every entrepreneur, every startup entrepreneur loves to say that they're using AI, but it's actually not so straightforward. I have a team that are much smarter than me, mostly all Pakistanis. I'm from Lahore. And, they're machine learning engineers, data scientists, data architects, cloud architects. And together, we try to work on solving business problems using artificial intelligence. And a lot of them have both the expertise and the academic background to do that kind of modeling. So once you have the talent in your team, the next question is, what are you going to do with it? And for me, we have clients all over the world. Our office is in Singapore and in Lahore and now in the US as well. We are working with one of the largest hospital networks in the US. We are going to be working with the Ministry of Health, one of the largest countries in Asia. And our main focus in both of them is crisis management. So this is something that has become very important for all governments, all big hospital networks across the world, including in Pakistan, which is how do you optimize the response that a city should have or a hospital network should have by being able to predict where COVID or any kind of pandemic may happen next. And you know that Bill Gates has already said that we'll probably have a pandemic every 10 years or something like that. So to be a resilient city, you need to have, the Ministry of Health needs to have a dashboard. And in the dashboard, it needs to, first of all, be connected to lots of different data points that can be analyzed to predict where the pandemic may pop up next. So for this, what we are doing is we are connecting hospitals, clinics, all of the telco data in this country, in ASEAN, with information on who the people were, the area that they lived in, what was the demographics over there, what were their symptoms, when did they have COVID. And by doing this, we are able to create a heat map. For example, if they were in an area that is highly pedestrian, or that it has a lot of traffic during the morning, or it has a lot of roads coming into it, we know that there's a much more likely chance that COVID will erupt there if there was a COVID patient in an adjoining or even something that's closely connected to that city or that block. Now, this may seem obvious, but and often AI confirms in the beginning our intuition. But over time, it begins to pick up on other things that the human mind may not pick up at. For example, it may pick up on certain kinds of elements such as how many people go to a pharmacy to get certain medication, which actually is an underlying indicator for something else, such as their lung health or how many smokers they are. There may be, again, some of these connections that are made through various data points that can't be made otherwise unless you bring the data together and actually apply machine learning to it. So if you look at the AI life cycle, इसमें सबसे पहली चीज जो हम करते हैं, that is gathering the data. That data then needs to be organized in what is known as a data lake. It's a huge repository of data. Once you look at this data, Then the machine learning engineers begin to take it out and model it and try to find connections that are beyond what the human eye or a team of human beings with Excel would be able to find. This immediately improves your response time. Then the second thing is, can you optimize your hospitals once you know that one area is in the red zone? So for a hospital in the US, we actually predicted what their emergency queue lines would be every weekend, because people used to wait for hours in emergency queue lines, and that would result in deaths. So actually looking at all the previous transactional, historical, clinical data, and looking at variables such as weather, payday, etc., you can actually predict quite well the kinds of ailments that come at different times of the year. And by doing this, we were able to improve their forecast by 20%. And as a result, they knew when to put more cardiologists in, radiologists, more nurses, more certain types of pediatric specialists, all because we were predicting the kinds of people would come in, and the emergency queue line was shorter and shorter. So this is an example of using artificial intelligence in a way that is not only good for business, for the hospital, or good for the citizens of a country, but also it's doing good. Now we know that 68% of the adult population in emerging markets do not have access to a bank account. That means they can't take a mortgage, they don't have a credit card, and nobody will give it to them. So the question then is, this whole idea of alternative data. Can you use other kinds of data from your digital footprint on the web, or can you use it on your mobile phone or any other alternative data that you find to assess credit riskiness? I saw on one of the microfinance telco banks, there was a woman, and she's from Karachi, and she wanted to open a beauty salon. And now this woman has no education. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a degree, but she wants to open a beauty salon in one of the largest mega cities in the world, where we know beauty and cosmetics are on a accelerating rise. Would you give her a loan? I think that part of the issue is that people would not give her a loan. A traditional bank would not give her a loan. But if she had an e-wallet, you would actually be able to tell if she pays her bills on time, or what kind of apps she has installed. What is she browsing? Is she on the phone the whole day watching YouTube? Or is she working maybe? Or is she studying for an accounting degree or looking at beauty tutorials? Is she making roaming calls outside internationally or internally? You could even give people a small form, a psychometric form, and you can get information not only by what they put in the form, but how fast they type. And also whether they type in small caps or large caps or a mix of the two. Believe it or not, studies have shown that all of these have some correlation with your credit risk profile. And we are doing something similar as well. We are looking right now at a fintech product for Pakistan, which would be looking at giving nano loans at various points in their customer journey. Why is this important to me? It's not because I want to encourage everybody to just recklessly take loans. It's because in our country, there's a disadvantage when you don't have access to a bank, or you don't have connections, or you don't have a job. And most people say, okay, this is corruption, so this is bad. But for me, what artificial intelligence through automation, such as using alternative data to quickly assess credit and give it to you, what it does is it frees up somebody's mind. So I was hearing Guy Kawasaki right now. In order to be an entrepreneur or to be an innovative thinker, you need to not be drowned by the bureaucracy of the world and of the government. And I think that is something we need to value, from the poorest to the oldest to the youngest person. which is, do we value their time? And how can AI free up their minds from the bureaucratic nightmares of operations, banks, governments, hospitals, doctors that they're engaging with, so that they can be understood better, their needs can be understood better, and one can respond faster to them and give them access to capital in time that does not take them so much time to actually get to the point where they can reach their full potential.